versus Labour's Rajesh Agarwal. It's a hotly contested seat. Shivani, a young candidate from the Conservative Party, what made you think you should be standing in a year which is considered a Labour wave year?
I've lived in Leicester my entire life. Leicester is my entire livelihood, and seeing the neglect that Leicester has had over the last 4 decades is really alarming to me. Leicester has had nothing but decades and decades of embarrassment, shame, exploitation and bad press, and that's not true. That's not a true reflection of what Leicester is. So I saw this as an opportunity to change. Yes, maybe the country is ready for a change, but Leicester is also ready for a change this year.
What do you mean by that? We've seen 14 years of Conservatives, and now people really think they're tired of Tories, and they really are looking at Labour. So there is a wave. The 14 years and an anti-incumbency. Rishi Sunak's polls are really looking very bad. What makes you think, Shivani, then you can make it here in Leicester?
So yes, we've had 14 years of the Conservatives nationally, but what about 40 years of Labour here locally? And I'm going to take you back. 14 years ago, when Labour left office, they left with a small note in the Treasury saying, sorry, no more money. It was the Conservatives who then worked day and night to rebuild our economic stability. We then had Brexit, which was a mandate for the people. We delivered on that. And then we had COVID. And then we had the Ukraine war, 2 unprecedented events that happened. And it was that time that our Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, steadied the ship of our country in these very challenging times. As our Chancellor, he proved that he can be trusted with our money.
Okay. Let's just talk about Sunak here. Rishi Sunak, while has lost the confidence of majority of the people in many ways than one, we don't know. Polls are predicting that. But when I go and when I've been meeting Indian community people, most of them are rooting for Rishi Sunak. Is it just the Indian origin or the Indian roots that bring all the emotional connect between him and the Indian community? Or is it more than that?
It's definitely more than that. I do agree that British Indians and Hindus feel incredibly proud. But I've been knocking on doors for the last 4 weeks. I've probably knocked on more than 20,000 doors. People from all race and religions. And they are all really happy with the work that the Conservatives have done. And they're really proud of Rishi. And they want to they think Rishi deserves to finish the job that he started.
What was your pitch when you told the Conservatives you want to stand over here? Because you have Rajesh Agarwal, who was the Deputy Mayor of London. You have Keith Vaz, who you yourself must have grown up seeing as an MP. And then you have Claudia Webb, who is a sitting MP, now an independent. What made you think you should be fighting these huge, old legends of in British politics?
I would not call them legends.
Actually, yes. Let's rephrase.
No, I really said that Leicester needs, and I truly believe Leicester needs a local voice. For decades and decades, people of Leicester have just not had their voice heard. We've had people like Keith Vaz and Claudia Webb. Let's not forget, these members, these people who are supposed to be representing the people of Leicester, they were the subjects of very serious criminal investigations. And I do not think they should be representing us. The Labour candidate has been parachuted in from London. Where is he? He doesn't care about Leicester.
And what about the fact that maybe people... you'd want people to see all this, but people are not actually seeing all this. You might say Rajesh Agarwal has been parachuted from London, but if the people over here think that there's going to be a Labour government after so many years of them having Conservatives at the centre and yet having a Labour MP, they'll finally have their own government.
I've knocked on so many doors, and people in Leicester are really fed up of Labour locally. In the Labour relationship and the Labour hold in Leicester, there's a very cosy relationship between a Labour MP, a Labour mayor and a Labour city council. I like to call it a sham democracy, because as you know, for democracy to work, there needs to be a fair opposition, and that's what I am delivering for the people of Leicester.
Okay, a very, very important point from a very young candidate over here, talking about strong opposition is also a strong government. But when it comes to Leicester itself, let's talk about the constituency. In the recent past, we've seen clashes over here, growing sectarianism, some extreme Khalistani elements as well. how did you see what you saw over here? What really happened? And did you think your leaders delivered?
So it was a really sad time. I've lived in Leicester my entire life, and it was the first time that we saw these kind of events take place. Everyone was really shaken up and really disheartened to see that. And those in power, unfortunately, in my opinion, did not stand up and represent us. They jumped on various bandwagons, and instead they should have stood up and said, the people of Leicester do not tolerate this kind of behavior. They could have approached various community key leaders and stood in unity, and that's what Leicester needed at that time, and it was not delivered.
When you say lack of leadership, explain, what did Claudia Webb do, what did Vaz do for you to say that they did not really represent or play an important role in uniting?
So Keith Vaz, who served as our MP for 32 years, I expected him to release a statement, but he did not. He did not release anything. Claudia Webb, instead of speaking to communities, she jumped on the bandwagon and blamed Hindus. Now, Hinduism is one of the most peaceful religions in the world. And what she should have done, in my opinion, and this is what I would have done, I would have approached all communities, worked together, and stand in unity. And at the end of the day, we don't tolerate violence on any account. But unfortunately, the people of Leicester were once again not represented.
Shivani, a major issue this election is also the Israel-Hamas war, and there is a massive community over here that has a very different approach to what the Conservatives actually think and feel. Is that going to be a loss for you, one? And secondly, what do you make of the position on Israel-Hamas war itself?
So I don't even want to call it a situation. It's a total tragedy what is happening in the Middle East, and my heart bleeds, as I'm sure everyone does. And what makes me really upset that this tragedy and this catastrophe and the massacre that's taking place, politicians are now using it as a point scoring. You know, there are terms such as ceasefire, etc., that they want politicians to buy into. But, you know, they whether you want a ceasefire or if you want an immediate pause, the meaning is the same thing. And we should all actually, instead of dividing us, we should all unite and collectively work together to stop the fighting. Ultimately, I want the fighting to stop now. You want the fighting to stop now. People of Leicester East want the fighting to stop now. And that's what we should be focusing on, not dividing us, saying your team ceasefire, your team not.
What's the vote bank you're depending on? The Indian community, the Indian Hindu community? Is there an Indian Muslim community also that you depend on? And the Pakistani Muslim community?
I'm depending on the people of Leicester. I am a Leicester girl, born and raised, and I am standing up for my people. And that's who I represent. I represent all communities of Leicester, and this is what I'm banking my votes on.
Final question before I let you go, because it is a concern for people in India, government as well, the growing and the rise of extremism, Khalistani extremism in the whole of UK. And how do you see that when it comes to certain factions within the larger peaceful Sikh community that have taken this entire extreme step of espousing the cause of Khalistan?
So the way I think, there's always going to be extreme views in any religion or in any culture. But I like to, the analogy that I often keep, that there's a loud minority and a silent majority. And it's about awakening the silent majority, getting them to stand up. And then once that happens, then the loud minorities will soon, will not be able to cause as much destruction that they do cause.
Do you want to call out the silent majority and actually ask them to come vote for you?
Yes, please do. On the 4th of July, please do come out. Your vote is our voice, and the louder our voice is, the more work we can do together. So please, tomorrow, do go out, do show your support, and let's bring real change to Leicester. Thank you.
On that note, thank you so much,
Thank
Shivani
you.
Raja. That's one of the younger candidates over here this election, fighting a key battleground constituency of Leicester East, if I'm not wrong. And that's all from me over here with Shivani Raja. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
In Leicester, Geeta Mohan reporting for India Today.